Welcome to Unscripted with Russo. For our podcast, we decided to explore the people behind the narratives. I'll introduce decision makers and influencers and find out the intimate story behind their rise to success. Hey everybody, welcome to Unscripted. I am Ashley Russo, and I'm here with my good friend Nancy Dischinat, the Executive Director of the Workforce Board Lehigh Valley. Nancy, thanks for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. And I am unscripted.
You are unscripted, and that's why I knew you'd be a fabulous guest.
You never
know what Nancy's going to say.
Right.
One of the highlights of the year in the Lehigh Valley, if people have not seen it, is to come to the Chamber's Economic Outlook, where you always give a presentation. And I will never forget the very first year I saw that, about 7 years ago, and you sang a song. But it was meaningful. You wrote the lyrics. It got your message across.
Right.
You've done poems. You've had performances where you wear costumes and hats. So you always bring a lot of life to what I think people have thought of maybe as a less than exciting conversation.
Right. Especially at that kind of a forum. So I think I'm in the entertaining business anyway. Whenever you are in an organization that is trying to help people find jobs and skills and career pathways, sometimes the subject matter is a little difficult for people to hear, or they don't want to hear it necessarily. So how do you take it and twist it a little bit and do it in a different way and entertain? I always said I'm in the entertainment business.
I love it. Well, you figured it out. Well, for people who may not know, we want to learn a little bit more about you because we know you in this capacity here in the Lehigh Valley. But tell us about yourself. Where'd you grow up?
I was actually born in New York City on the bridge.
Literally on the
George
bridge?
Washington Bridge. Yes,
No.
yes.
In a cab
yes.
or something?
In a cab, right. That's correct. And then
Wait, is that true?
Absolutely true. Then as a baby, I lived in New York City, with my grandmother and my mother and my father and whoever else was there. Everybody lived together. It was like a community home.
That's great.
Do you know what I mean?
Did you have siblings?
I have a brother. I have a brother, and I have a sister, Peggy and Michael.
Okay.
My brother has since died. My sister is still alive and kicking strong and having a good time with her life because she's more like a person with the peace movement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone's a beautiful child. And I was the baby of the family, but the oldest of the family, if you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, interesting. You don't find that very often, that the youngest has those oldest child characteristics.
That's right.
Interesting.
Yes.
How long were you in New York?
Not long. I don't remember it as a baby. And then we moved into New Jersey. All right, so I lived in New Jersey.
You made the natural progression.
Natural progression.
What
I think
part of
we
New
walked
Jersey?
there from from New York City, from the Bronx.
And what part of Jersey did you move to?
Barnegat, New Jersey.
Okay.
So we were more the Bay children rather than the ocean front children.
Barnegat Bay.
Yes, Barnegat Bay and Greenheads. Those were my favorite things. And I remember going to the beach, the bay, with my grandmother and my sister and my brother. And my sister did, but I never had a top. All I had was a bottom. So I didn't even know there were two pieces to a bathing suit for many, many, many years. And my grandmother would always say, go into the water and make sure you stay up to your neck. And I always did. I did whatever she told me to do, never even realizing that. Yeah.
It's funny you bring up those greenheads. I know when you sit at the beach, you look for the bay breeze, and if you see the wind blowing from the bay, you're going to be in trouble with those flies.
It didn't matter if the wind was blowing or wasn't.
Around.
They were there.
So what kind of kid were you? What were you into? Were you into school, sports, performing? Describe 7-year-old Nancy to me.
Well, I was really into work. I lived with my grandmother and my grandfather, and all of her grandchildren kind of lived with her. We all lived together in her house because my father and mother divorced. My mother was in and out, and so were the other mothers. They were in and out. They were never a steady force, if you know what I mean. So it was always with my grandmother, who was great. I loved her nanny. I absolutely
You always talk about
her.
your nanny.
I do.
My grandmother was my nanny too.
It's so good to have someone like that in your life. Even when they're not here anymore, you can remember what they said, what they did, what they do, how they would react to things. And I think that they're a guiding force. Everyone needs a nanny. I always say to everyone, if you don't have one, I will be your nanny.
Anybody,
Just let
that's
me
a lucky
know.
thing. And you know what, you're right. I feel like your grandparents, I always say they're angels on earth. You know, they really are. And to have a grandmother like that.
Right,
But you
right.
said you're into work, so she
well,
put you all to work.
She put us all to work, especially me, because I like to work. I like to be with her. So I didn't know I was a migrant worker. We would get on the blueberry bus and go pick blueberries all day. I thought it was pretty gosh darn good because I'd eat all the blueberries I wanted. At lunchtime, I'd get money for a soda, and I'd have a soda, and I'd go back and pick more blueberries, and life was good for me as far as I was concerned. So I didn't mind it. Do you know what I mean? I think as a child, you create a mindset, and that follows you through your life on work and balance.
Did
Do you know what I'm saying?
did your nanny make it that it was sort of a fun activity?
Absolutely
Yeah, I
not.
think about
No,
no, she
absolutely
made it like this
not.
is work?
No, she got me a Maxwell House can, put 2 holes in it, put a rope around the can, put it around my neck, and off we went. And I would just take those blueberries right off the bush and put them in the can, and then put them into the rack. So that was okay. But no, it wasn't fun. It was work. It was a job. We were doing something for a purpose, and the purpose was to get money.
And you understood that from
I
a really young
absolutely
age.
understood that. I still understand that.
What role did school play for you?
Well, I was okay in high school, and middle school and high school. I was okay, but I was like a friendly kid. Do you know what I mean?
I can't imagine it any
No,
other
I was
way,
friendly.
Nancy.
Everyone, I had a lot of friends. People liked me. I liked to sing. I liked to dance. I liked to entertain. Do you
Were
know
you
what
in
I
any
mean?
and
So-
were you in any school activities? Like were you in a club? Did you
No,
cheerlead?
because
Did
I
you
came
do
home.
the-
I had to come home to
And work.
make sure I got the potatoes on. So because my grandmother worked at a factory, and if it was raining, I'd have to meet her at her factory with an umbrella so that we could walk back down to the house. So it was always a scheduled life.
And you knew what your role and
I
responsibilities
knew what my
were.
roles. They didn't have to tell me anymore. Do you know what I mean? I was not a child that got yelled at or anything or punished for anything because I was such a good girl.
Come on,
I'm
Nancy.
still
There's
a
got to
good-
be some
I
juice
know,
in there.
I'm still a good girl. Do you know what I mean? I still try to do.
What do you
good.
look back now and say that you learned kind of from those early lessons? I mean, what is that lesson of that hard work, routine, showing up and getting the job done?
Right. I just think I learned that I was resilient, that I could do lots of things that maybe I didn't want to do, but I could still do them. And I knew if I did them, it would take me somewhere else. Like riding I wanted a bike so bad because we lived down toward the bay, and my grandmother liked to play bingo, so we'd go to bingo, but we'd have to walk up, and then hopefully someone would pick us up and take us to bingo. So I said, oh, if I had a bike, I could ride you to bingo. And so finally we got a bike, and I had to learn how to drive a bike at a very young age and have my grandmother on the back of it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas normally it would be the opposite
way
of that.
around,
So
yeah.
I'm like the opposite of most people I know.
Do you feel like you were a natural born problem solver, or do you think your circumstances put you in
I
a
think
role?
I grew into it.
Yeah.
I think I grew in I think the circumstances, since I was the oldest child, allowed me to be able to have the freedom to have people accept what I said.
Well, we're going to get into it a little bit later in the show, but I want to pick up on something you mentioned, which is that you realized there was a job to do, and even it wasn't pleasant at the moment, you knew it was a stepping stone to something else. And I feel
Right.
like that has to be a major lesson that you must impart on all the young people you work with in workforce development now. So I say that
Right.
all the time. Like interns come in, I said, sometimes you got to do the crap. Like every
exactly.
job, I tell my kids, I'm like, every job has crap. We sit at the island in our
Right,
kitchen,
right.
and I say, you pull out your to-do list. I'm going to pull out my to-do list, and I'm going to tell you all the things on here that I don't really want to do. I'm going to show you the 3 things I'm excited about. I'm going to show you the 17 I really don't want to do, but it's going to get me to this goal.
That's right.
And I talk to them in that way, and I feel like that's so important. It's
It
not
is.
all fun and games.
No, most of it is not fun and games. And it also builds in you some kind of inner desire to not necessarily be something else or be someone, but an inner desire to feel good for yourself.
Intrinsic
That's totally
sense of learning.
different than
Yeah.
wanting to get ahead or to build a career or build a future. It was like I had to really learn to be happy with myself.
What a cool thing to learn at a young age.
Really.
I love it.
Really
All right.
a
Well,
very
Nancy, we're going
young
to take a
age.
quick break.
Sure.
But when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about what happened after high school and what you did to get to this point in your life. All right. We'll be right back. You're listening to Unscripted. Any time of year, the Lehigh Valley is an exceptional place for food, drink, and entertainment. Whether you're cooling off from the summer heat at Dutch Springs or shopping for just the right kind of gift at Chris Kindle Market, you will make memories all year round. For more information on what the Lehigh Valley has to offer, check out Discover Lehigh Valley's website at discoverlehighvalley.com. All right, everybody, I'm back with Nancy Dischinat from the Workforce Board Lehigh Valley. Nancy, we have been talking all about your childhood. A girl of the Bay.
A girl of the Bay, right.
What happened after high school? What kind of training or education, jobs did you get? And eventually, what landed you in the Lehigh Valley?
Well, okay, after high school, I went to many high schools. I lived with my grandmother, then I lived with my aunt, then I lived with my father for a while, then I lived with my other aunt for a while, and my one aunt and uncle owned a, they owned a, not a restaurant, like a deli, but a big grocery store deli. And I was young, I was small, I was doing the meat. I was cutting the meats and
before there were laws about
before
how
there
old
were
you
any
had to
laws,
be.
there I was back there. So I did a lot. I learned a lot about entrepreneurship and being friendly and entertaining customers as they came in and helping them with their groceries. Oh my gosh, what a helper bee I've been. You know what I mean? But I also learned how to work machinery. At a young age, to have those blades and everything. So I worked there for a while. Then I went to my aunt and uncle who owned a restaurant. So I loved it there. I was a waitress. I learned how to cook. I did the short order cooking, but I not only went to the restaurant and worked, but then I had to go to school, and when I come home from school, I'd work in the restaurant until 2:00 at night, and I'd get back up and go to school. So work was always not a chore.
It's
Do you
just
know
a
what
part
I'm
of who
saying?
you
It's just
are. Yeah.
right. Some people, oh my gosh, I have to go to work, and I go, oh my gosh, I'm glad to go to work.
Isn't that the best feeling?
It is the best
and I
feeling
love that
ever.
you have done all of these jobs
Yes.
and you actually were in the trenches doing these things because
Right.
you do advise people a lot and you're always beautifully pulled together and you always look the part of this executive, and yet at your core, you're somebody who's done the job. So when you're talking it, you've walked the talk.
Right.
I think that's
don't
important.
think you can feel maybe the way I feel as an adult and the job I'm in and what I'm doing in my community if you haven't lived it, if you haven't done all the right and some of the wrong things. You know what I mean? Because believe me, I've made plenty of mistakes.
And you can relate to some of the challenges that people face with switching schools or switching homes and having a different eclectic upbringing. And
Right,
yeah, you can
right,
relate to all that. So
right.
what happens after high school?
Yeah.
Where does your life take you? Bring me, fast forward me through those years.
After high school, I went back to I came back to New Jersey because I was in Upper New York State with my relatives up there because we moved around a lot, and so I came back down to New Jersey for a while, and then when I was in Hancock. That's where I met my future husband. You know what I mean? In a school district. So I didn't go to college. I went to Lehigh Carbon Community College for an associate's degree, but I never went on beyond that because I was working. I was working to put maybe other people through college, and so
Sure.
that was my role.
And you were learning on the job training,
Oh
right?
my gosh,
And you were
yeah,
doing it while you did
absolutely.
it. Okay.
So I did.
You
a lot
eventually
of
get
that.
married.
I eventually got married, yes, and we had one daughter. So.
And what brings you to the Lehigh Valley? How do we get so
my
lucky?
husband
Okay.
had a teaching position here, so we moved here. So, and I didn't really I did work for a funeral director for 3 days. That was an unbelievable job. Because I went there like cheery, perky, cute as a button, you know what I mean? And he's going, you need to calm down a little bit, if you're going to work here. So then and I was great at shorthand and things like that. So he gave me this thing to do and I did it. And he said, you're hired. I left there with that job. So then I went into the job, that was a Friday. I went into the job Monday morning and I was dressed really nicely and I walked in and all of a sudden there were people that were They were, yes, they were
Yeah.
there morning. And I thought I would be upstairs in the office with him, but I wasn't. I was in the actual front office of where people were coming to see their loved ones.
So you knew right away that wasn't the job for you.
Oh, yes. But I thought, I can do this. Sure, I can do this. This is going to be just fine, you know? But 2 days later, it was not fine.
Couldn't do
you know?
it. You mentioned shorthand. Talk about a lost art. My mother-in-law
my
knows
gosh,
shorthand
yeah,
too.
yeah.
It is
I can take
amazing. Why do you
shorthand
think
anywhere.
that's gone? I love it.
I love to take shorthand. So, and I'll take notes
Is
better
anybody
than
still
anyone.
teaching shorthand? Does it exist anywhere?
Probably not with technology anymore,
Gosh,
but in
though, it's
meetings
smart.
or in,
It's such a smart.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh well, a lost art, but you've
Right,
still got
a
it,
lost
Nance.
art. Maybe it's better it's lost. You know what I mean?
All right,
Now,
so
what
so
did
give
that
me
say?
give me the highlights. Give me the highlights of your career. What were some other jobs you held, and where did you start to find your place here in the Lehigh Valley?
Well, I worked for the township of Whitehall for a while. I was in their fiscal department, did a lot with the bookkeeping and things like that, which really isn't my forte at all. Not at all, but apparently I could do the job. Do you know what I mean? So after that, while I was there at the township, I applied for a job with the Chamber of Commerce, but it was for a United States Department of Labor and Industry apprenticeship program. It was a pilot program they were operating. So I applied for that job, and I got that job. And it was more administrative assistance, but I could do more than that. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of grew from there. They saw I had some sales ability, and I could go out and talk to the employers and get apprenticeship programs. And we were one of the top areas in the state and bring apprenticeships into the Lehigh Valley.
Isn't it cool when you get into a career that
Yeah.
allows you the opportunity to try stuff
Yes.
maybe you didn't think?
Right.
Tell me about the people in your life at that time that gave you those opportunities. In other words, you coach and mentor a lot of employers
Right.
now,
Right.
and
Right.
do you
But you know,
think about that?
when you're saying that, sometimes I sit back and I think you have to want to take something
Absolutely.
further. You know, it's not that people lay out opportunity for you.
gotta
And I
seize
see
it.
that all
Yeah.
over. You really have to look for it and prove it. And that's when they start laying things out. Do you understand what
No,
I'm saying?
I always say the same thing. Is I would ask in my
Yeah.
early jobs, I would ask to do other things.
Yes.
Okay, these are my 10 tasks I understand I have to do.
Right.
Here are 3 more things I'd like to try.
Right.
And
right.
usually I found if you spoke up and said, I want to try it, people would say, okay.
Yes.
But I guess I'm speaking to that mentality that the employer would say, okay, if you've got a willing person. So you
Right.
got to have that right attitude.
Right, you do.
But then on the flip side,
Right.
people have to make sure they don't just let you be in a box, right? You got to
Exactly,
expand. It's sort of a give and take.
Right.
Yeah,
but,
interesting.
But the up and down was I was doing some of that and doing what I wanted to do, getting out, talking to employers, almost like selling a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because again, I was an entertainer, no matter how you want to look at that. But the other part with me, I was making curtains for the windows at the office that I worked. So it was a balancing act of trying to do everything. Do you
And
know
also
what I
whatever
mean?
needed to be done.
I wasn't focused, or I didn't know how to focus totally on what I could be. It's so difficult for people to learn and understand what they can be. They don't know what they can be, and I find that every single day with parents of children and with young children and kids coming out of college. They don't know what they can be, because they don't understand the complexity of all the jobs in the Lehigh Valley, all the jobs in the United States of America, and how their skills fit into that. And I think sometimes that's missing in
Or they don't
our
give it
whole
a chance either.
educational
The idea
system.
that you just have to jump in and do it.
That's right.
Yeah, there's an
that's
element.
right, you know?
So you have with your work with the Workforce Board. First of all, tell us a little bit about what the Workforce Board does, what your goals are, and a little bit about the work and your personal missions around workforce.
Okay. I do work for the Lehigh Valley Workforce Board. It's one of 23 workforce boards across Pennsylvania. It's under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, so it's under a federal law. There are the individuals that are responsible for the resources that come into the Lehigh Valley for our program. Our program are both of the Lehigh and Northampton County executives, who are fabulous, just fabulous individuals. So I work a lot with them. I have a large workforce board that is representative of all the individuals in the Lehigh Valley to make sure we are serving the general public. Because we created a workforce, not a program, a system of workforce development that I can go to, your children can go to, a universal system that not only serves targeted populations and all kinds of individuals that need help and have barriers to employment, but it also serves us and our children. And if you lose your job, you can come in and look at all the jobs known to womankind on our workforce system. So it's all about work. It's all about jobs. It's all about career pathways. It's all about understanding what you can be.
Yeah, when I first met you and
Yes.
first came and saw the Workforce Board and the work you were doing there, I was so fascinated by the concept that this wasn't just a singular path. It really was an open door with many, many, many other doors to choose
Right,
from.
that's right.
You open that first door, and all of a sudden you'd say, oh, look at this. We've got a
Yeah.
resume building class.
Right.
Look at this. We've got a group for executives that are out of a job. We've got a group for people going to trade schools. I mean, you have so many pathways to
Right.
success. I love that. Well, we're going to take a little break.
Okay.
And then I do want to talk a little bit more about your involvement in the community
Okay.
and all the things you do to give back to this
All
wonderful
right,
Lehigh
okay.
Valley.
All right, thank you.
Hey, are you looking for a place unlike any other? Well, enjoy the twists and turns of Dorney Park, explore a new world underground at Lost River Caverns, or create colorful memories at the Crayola Experience. Whatever you decide, Discover Lehigh Valley is your source to finding out what's happening in our area. To find a new adventure, check out their website at discoverlehighvalley.com. Welcome back to Unscripted. I'm here with my friend Nancy Dischinat. Nancy, we've been talking about all of your work in the Lehigh Valley, the work you've personally done and the work that you're supporting others to do. But you do a lot outside of your job. Outside of your job with Workforce Board, you do a lot for the community. Tell me a little bit about why you give back to our community and what are some things that are near and dear to you and why?
I think our life and what we do is all part of giving and taking. I think many of us, including myself, have taken a lot from society, from resources that we have. And when we get to a position that we're comfortable in, and I'm comfortable in my position, I'm comfortable where I am in my life, and that's really a wonderful thing to be able to say. Do you know what I mean? I love my job. I love the people I work with. I have the skills to do my job. I've had the opportunities afforded to me, and I've worked very, very hard. And I think settling on that is important, and understanding that is really important. And giving back is equally as important. I think giving back doesn't necessarily always have to be to an organization or to a community fund or to something that's set up. I think giving back is just meeting someone and taking the time to understand who they are and really looking and see if you could help that person in some way. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Because they're the things that matter to Harry and Mary versus giving $1,000 to an organization. I think that's real important too, because they do the same thing that I'm saying. They take the time to look at these
It takes all those
individuals.
pieces, and
Right.
you know, you never know. I have a friend who works on. She's got a project called The Power of a Smile, and her entire mission really is going around and capturing amazing smiles she sees all over the world, in individuals on the sidewalk, and paying that forward. And I love the concept because you never know what that one interaction at the grocery store could do to encourage somebody in their day and their life and their choices. Yeah, it
does
really
matter.
does.
And it's a self-satisfaction thing. I don't need to see my name printed that I donated this or donate that. That's my business of what I do.
Yeah.
And most of the times it's anonymous. You know what I mean? Am I into the Girl Scouts? Yes. Because I was a Brownie and I was a Girl Scout, and I'm telling you, they let me into the Brownies. It's just, I couldn't get into the Brownies. I couldn't afford to pay the dues, but they let me in. So that was a welcoming. And that meant more to me than anything really, to let someone into something. So there are so many good things and so many good people. I try to be good too.
Well, you certainly are doing that, Nancy. I want to ask you a little bit about what you love around the Lehigh Valley. I mean, one of the things in your work, you're And collectively, I think between, the Chamber and Discover
Yeah.
Lehigh Valley and LVDC, we're all trying to work to say, not only is this a great place to come to, but there's all these amazing people here. We want them to stay. So talk to me a little bit about what you love about the Lehigh Valley and the opportunity that exists here.
I think the Lehigh Valley is one of the few areas, and I've been to many areas in the United States, many communities in the business I'm in, especially in workforce development, but no one that I have seen has built the relationships collectively like the Lehigh Valley has. We like each other, and that's a rarity. We like each other. We build all of each other's strengths, and we help out with the weaknesses. And I think that's what's made our community grow. We have strong, I think, leaders in many of the organizations, but they aren't self-centered. And I think being self-centered sometimes is prominent across the United States, but I don't feel it here. You don't find it here, and I don't feel it here. And I think it is a feeling of welcoming people into our community, trying to help them find their way and show them where they belong and where they fit into the community and help them getting there. That's certainly what we do in our workforce system. Where can you fit in? What do you need to do to get to where you want to go? And if you don't know where you need to go, we'll help you find a way to get there. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and I love the way you're describing it, because I always say this is such a welcoming community who really, we care about each other.
Right.
But I love the way you're saying it. People come to the table, they figure out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and how they can work together for the good of everybody. And it is a unique thing we've got in this valley.
We're like a puzzle, and we're all a puzzle piece. And I really feel that way about our community. So I love it here. I love the Lehigh Valley. I love working here. I love living here. I think it's a great, great place to be.
I totally agree with you, my good friend Nancy Dischinat. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for imparting your wisdom on us and for always being entertaining. It's been wonderful having you.
All right, thank you.
Family time is about creating memories together to last a lifetime. And what better way to bond than spending time at some of the amazing attractions the Lehigh Valley has to offer? You can cheer on the Lehigh Valley Phantoms or take a walk on the wild side at the Lehigh Valley Zoo. However you enjoy spending your free time, there's something here for every member of the family. For more information on things to do in the Lehigh Valley, head over to Discover Lehigh Valley's website at discoverlehighvalley.com. All right, everybody, I'm here with Nancy Dischinat, and she is going to do our bonus rapid-fire question round. Nancy, are you prepared?
I am prepared.
Have you heard these questions?
No.
Okay, here we go. What is your favorite thing to do in the Lehigh Valley, and why?
Well, that's not such a rapid response answer, is it? It's my favorite thing to do. I have no idea what my favorite thing to do.
All right, I'll come back to that. What is your favorite hobby or pastime?
I don't have a hobby or pastime.
Well, you know how to make curtains.
Maybe shopping. I like to shop.
Okay, fair enough. If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you would do?
I would figure out who I had to give some of the money away to, because money sometimes is an evil thing. And I think sometimes too much is not good, and therefore I'd want to share that wealth. And I sincerely mean that.
What is one food you could not live without?
Carrots.
Are you serious? Carrots?
I like vegetables.
All right, well, healthy.
I'm sorry. It's a sad state of affair.
Well, you are in great shape, so maybe that's why. All right, Nancy, if you were to choose an actor to play you in a movie about your life, what actress would you pick?
I have no idea.
I know, it's a hard one. Let's go for like a Meryl
I don't even
Streep
know.
or something.
Pardon?
How about a Meryl Streep?
Well, I was thinking more of like a singer.
Yeah? Or
someone like Over the Rainbow. Judy Garland.
Oh, Judy Garland. That's a good
even though her
one.
life was crazy nuts.
No, that's okay.
You know what
She
I
could
mean?
still
But
play you. Judy
we'll
Garland.
just pretend the life wasn't attached to it, all right?
Love it. If you didn't have the job you have now, what would you be doing instead?
Some other job or a couple of them. If I didn't have this job, I'd have two other jobs. Because
This job's pretty busy.
That's right.
All right, name one person who inspires you.
There are so many people that inspire me. I could not name one. There are so many.
Well, I know one is for sure your nanny.
Oh, for
Always
sure.
still inspiring
Oh,
you.
I thought you meant.
Well, it could be anyone.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be my nanny.
All right. Thanks for listening, you guys. We appreciate it. Please consider subscribing to our podcast or checking us out on YouTube. Until next time.
Hey, it's Abby. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos.
To see more of The Peak TV, check out our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and catch us on WFMZ Channel 69.